this was something I was thinking about last night because it actually happened to me recently. People have heard and I'm sure have experienced, and also it can be a very dangerous thing,
Right.
literally a very dangerous thing, carbon monoxide, right? But most, you have alarm or you have those detectors, all that kind of stuff. But you had a very scary, but also equally funny story
Right.
that happened to you. Let me just say, I remember the moment you told me that it was probably somewhere like 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock a.m. There's sirens outside of your residence, and you're being strapped down to a hospital or an emergency vehicle about to go to the emergency room. Can you, before we go into what happened and the conclusion of that, can you take us back? How did you get there? How did we get there? Paint the picture for me.
Oh my gosh. This is crazy, man, because this happened right around this time of the year. It was like no October, November 2000, I want to say 2016, maybe
What?
17. No,
Wow.
2016. It
So
was a
that's
while ago.
is that 6 year anniversary? Almost six, or is that seven? I don't know how to
Yeah,
do math.
6, yeah, like
Six
something
year
right
anniversary. All right.
ish, yeah. We'll just go ish. We'll put that label on there.
That's
Um
ironic that it just came up. It's just funny. It's funny things. I believe that they
right.
actually emerge in our memories in a very. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like
Yeah.
in a serendipitous way. So yeah, take me
So,
back to that time.
dude,
Where were you, by the way? You were out.
I was in Virginia. I was in Northern Virginia, Fairfax County. Not sure if anybody's ever been there. Fantastic city, very expensive to live. Good food though. Good food, good people. Um, so yeah, let me take you back. So in Northern VA, it's it is hard to live there unless you're making a ton of money because rent is expensive. Um, everything, housing markets, like I mean, just a 2 or 3 bedroom townhouse at the time would have cost like 5 or 600 grand. No joke.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's
You got to be super wealthy to live like a king or queen out there.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So what happens in that area is people get creative, right? And so they find different rentals, different ways to rent property to people. It could be like a basement apartment,
Mm.
not like you think like a dirty, dungy basement,
No,
but like a nice home that they
totally.
convert into an apartment. So anyway, yes, I taking you back to the Sunday night. I'll can never forget this night. Normal evening, relaxed, getting ready to go to work on Monday morning. I'm in my apartment. It was a really cool.
Describe this because this is one of the parts of this.
Yes,
What was this?
yes. We're gonna we're gonna describe it. So I had found a rental that was reasonably priced, and it was like a cabin. It was like a finished, furnished cabin rent. It was so cool. I was so freaking pumped for this thing. It even had like a wood stove,
Okay.
fire burner, and everything. It was like out of a. It almost reminded me of like if you go get like a really cute or cool Airbnb and you're gonna go
Yes,
on
I
like
was
a.
thinking that
That's kind of the vibe, and I'm like,
rustic, kind of rustic.
"Shit, this is my place, man." Like, and
Yeah,
I had just gotten my my cat who recently passed, Rothbart, rest in peace, my buddy.
R.I.P. Man.
R.I.P. Rothbart, he's a legend. I had just gotten him like 2 or 3 weeks before moving into this place. So I got my new cat, my buddy, I got my new apartment, cabin. I'm like shit, life is good, man. Life
Was
is
it
good. It's
close to a
fall.
house? Was it close to the how? Like, how did that work? The proximity.
Right. So it was a big piece of property. Like this was in a very, very wealthy neighborhood. Like from what I understand, and this will play more into the story a little bit later. there was like there were literally like high profiled officials that lived in this neighborhood, like judges,
Yeah.
Fairfax Court, one of the most renowned or well known courts in the United States. Um, but anyway, so yeah, it's my time of the year. It's this big piece of property. I'm excited. It's fall. There's a house on the property where my landlord would live. Like he had his own big place, probably had maybe 10 acres or something like that
Wow.
with multiple pieces of property, like not pieces of property,
How
but like units and stuff. You know
Well,
what I
how
mean?
far away from him, if you could just like, was your cabin? We'll call it that, right? Your residence
My
from the
residence.
main house.
Oh gosh, 20-second walk.
Okay, so it's
It
like
was
it's
very
you
close.
could see it. It's right there.
I could see it.
Gotcha.
It's right
Okay.
there. Yeah. So it's to paint a picture for you all. It's like that mid-November ish, starting to get really cold. Like most of the leaves have fallen, and if you guys can imagine, like when you walk outside, you're stepping on just tons of leaves everywhere.
Mm,
You hear the little crunch. It's maybe a little bit damp.
mm.
Aaron, I know uh not actually okay to plug 7 minute stories here, but I know you recently just did an episode called Autumn on
Yeah.
7 minute stories. That right? Correct?
Yeah, if you love fall, take a listen to that because what you're describing, Anthony, what you and I love, we
Yes.
love the fall, we love the winter. We're cool weather people, and they'll hear this. We'll tell more and more stories about our love. I know we were talking about doing a Christmas episode.
So
We're
many.
huge fans of seasonal changes, but yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, if you want sort of a meditative Rockwellian guide to how to enjoy fall, check out 7 minute stories autumn. But you were experiencing that same thing in November, right? So you're walking outside, leaves are crunching under your feet.
Leaves are crunching under my feet. Also, plug down below. We're going to drop the link for that story in the comments section. Shake and bake. Moving on. It's fall. I thought that I was embarking on a beautiful evening on this Sunday night, but before we get to the exciting things, let me just kind of take you back a couple weeks leading up to that moment.
Mm,
So I'm like, I have heat, electric heat in the place, but I also have the wood burning stove, and I'm like, I'm gonna I'm gonna be like a lumberjack. Like I have like chopped wood outside, that, and I have this wood burning stove, and I want to create my own heat. I'm like, this is badass. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna start burning some wood in the wood burning stove to heat my place, and it was working. And it wasn't like terribly cold where I like actually had to have it on all the time. It was like maybe at night I threw a couple logs in to get the heat going, but what I found interesting was that I started noticing a smell
mm.
in the apartment, and it smelled like rotting wood slash smoky. Like, okay, here's the best way to describe this for everyone watching, and Aaron, for you. Have you ever just had like a bonfire and you wake up in the morning and then there's that like musty
Yeah,
smoke
I know
smell?
exactly. It's like wet, like it is
That's it.
damp almost.
It's damp.
Yeah,
It had that kind of smell. So I'm like, oh, like I've never had experience with a wood burning stove. This must be normal. Maybe I just need to clean it out. So I started like getting congested and everything like that over that 2 week span that I've been there. I'm like, is it just allergies? Is it cold season? There's this weird smell. I'm like, I'm not really looking too much into it.
right.
Um, so I messaged my landlord and I was like, hey, just FYI, like the wood doesn't seem to be burning super great and getting super hot. It's also leaving like a musty smell. Is this normal? And I'm like, hey, also confirming you're good with me using the pile of wood that you said I could use.
We're all good here
Wow, we're all good. I'm checking the
because
boxes.
he said
Are
you
we
could,
good?
right? He
Yeah,
said you could. Okay.
feel free to help yourself. Because I remember asking him specifically, do you need me
Mm,
to like order? Like I can have delivered like a set of firewood for myself. He's like, no, you're good. Just use the section out front.
mm.
Um, I'm doing that. Like I'm using this wood and I'm trying to think of there's a turning point where I started feeling sick, like nauseous, right?
Yeah, when you messaged him about if there was something up with the wood, did he give you any? What did he say?
He's Thank you for bringing this up.
Yeah,
He actually said, "Hey, look, feel free to use it. Avoid the super soft section. Like if something is like super soft, you know how wood gets really wet and
yeah,
it doesn't become mushy. I don't even know what the right word to describe it is, but it's like it becomes very damp and you're just like, hey, there's no way I could burn this.
right. It
So
takes forever to burn.
it's
Yeah,
forever.
it's
Yeah,
not dry. It doesn't have that dry quality to it.
exactly. So, you know, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not a professional wood guy, but I'm like analyzing the wood. I'm like, this doesn't seem soft, so I'm burning it. A week or two is going by. I have the scent, the smell. I have nausea, a feeling of nausea happening, and I'm
Oh,
like,
here we go.
here we go. I'm like, okay, not gonna panic. Maybe I just
Got
stop using this thing at some point. So I was getting to that like end point with this experiment with the wood burning stove. I'm like, I think I'm going to stop burning it. It
It
was
also could have been a cold though, right? I remember talking to you at the time. It's like
yeah,
it could have been just like a cold or a virus. Right? Because you had the congestion, but it's like it's hard to define what it is. Is it as a result of that? Or are you just
right.
getting sick? It's cold and flu season.
Exactly. It's hard to tell what is going on.
Right.
So, and then, and another thing too is like, with my cat, like I'm not keeping the stove on during the day because he's there and I don't want him getting
Mm,
near that hot stuff. So I had the other heat on. So I'm like, all right, maybe I'm just going to transition out of this wood burning stove. It seems to not really be what I thought it was going to be. So it's a Sunday evening. Again, still not feeling great, like, is it a cold? Is it like, what is it? Not thinking too much into it. Typical Sunday night for me, watching TV, probably had football on. It was fall, right?
mm.
Probably watching the Browns or something like that. Getting ready for bed. I usually would get into bed around like 10:30, 11. Sometimes I go to bed a little bit later, 11, 11:30, 12. So I'm laying in bed, probably 12, 12:30. I hear a beep, beep, beep. What in the hell is this? Like, is it, am I dreaming? Like, I was in that state of mind where I'm like, this might not be real. Maybe it is real. And
Right.
then I started realizing, like, hey, there's something blaringly going off in the apartment, and I need to go, like, is there a fire? What is happening? I look up at a carbon monoxide detector going off. It is the freaking carbon monoxide detector. So, like,
Where's your mind going in this moment?
it's it's unimaginable. Here's where my mind went. There's no freaking way that this is, maybe it's got to be a faulty battery.
Right.
Has to be. There's no way in my mind that there's carbon monoxide in here. So I'm like, okay, I pop the little thing off. I look, I believe I even checked the battery, like took it out, put it back in,
Right.
looked at the unit, maybe it needed reset, put it back in, and I was hoping to see like the little low battery light.
Yeah.
Now, this is one of those combo detectors where it
Gotcha.
can
Gotcha.
sense carbon monoxide or fire, smoke, whatever. All of a sudden, the green light fires again for carbon monoxide. Beep,
Here we go.
beep, beep. So now I'm like, okay, I need to. This is not a test. This is not a test, right? This is happening.
There's an alarm going off in your cabin and inside of your mind.
There's a gift. There, there's a GIF that's going around, right? Well, it's been going around for a while. For those of you that use GIFs, if that's the real word, you should
GIF or
search
GIF. It's one of those. Yeah.
GIF or GIF. Could be either of the two. Search Michael Scott running out of office. There's a GIF where he's like, "Oh my God, it's happening! Oh my God, it's happening!" and everybody just starts to evacuate, right?
Right.
So, like in my mind, I felt like Michael Scott in that moment. Like, okay, it's happening. Where's Rothbart? What do I do? I didn't panic. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to go directly to 911 here. Okay. This is like we talked about. It's a quiet neighborhood. I'm not ready to commit to 911 just yet. However, I am willing to Google search the non-emergency fire department line in Fairfax County. So I'm willing to go down that road.
See, you're smarter than most people. Let me take us on a real quick sidetrack here because I think this
Love
is
it.
really important, dude. For me, see, you're smart. Maybe it's because you have family in law enforcement. Maybe there's like, I don't know what it is, but for me, I never, when they say call someone for an emergency, the only thing I think of, it's either 911 or nothing.
Right.
I never really understood that there's multiple layers, non-emergency. And then there's that question of like, what is an emergency? What isn't? They
Right.
don't really tell you. They give these numbers. They say,
Right.
if you're in trouble, guess what? I'm in trouble. But then you don't want to get in trouble for calling the wrong number. So for me, I love the fact that you were able to stay calm because for me, I would have just sat there for an hour trying to figure out what freaking number to call.
Right.
But you
Well,
didn't. You called the non-emergency line. Maybe I'm just stupid. I probably am.
no, no,
But
no.
you kind of knew what to do, and so you called the non-emergency
Well,
number.
Well, first of all, I appreciate you sharing that, and I will say that you're not dumb, and no one is dumb for calling 911
Thank you.
because
Yes.
here's the thing, like, here's an admission, right, of like another layer to how I was feeling in that moment. Yeah, I could have called 911, but I was like, I don't want to wake the whole neighborhood up.
Yeah.
Like,
Here you
this is the
are.
here I'm trying to think.
You don't
I'm
want to be
trying.
that guy.
I
Everyone's
don't
looking
want
through
to.
the windows.
Yeah, I I don't want to be
The
that
new
guy.
guy in the cabin.
What, he's got
What's isn't that the new neighbor?
is that the
Burning all
name?
the he's got all the smoke coming from his chimney.
It's unbelievable. He must not know how to use a fire stove. So,
Didn't he read the instructions?
ah,
Use the seasoned wood.
yeah, dude, this is epic. All right, so I'm like, all right, not non-emergency line. Actually, we'll just do this. Pick up the phone.
There it is.
Call the non-emergency line. They pick up. Fire department, how can I help you? Hey, listen.
I'm sorry. I love the way we start conversation. Like, well, how do you start the conversation?
Hey,
How do you start?
hey, hey.
You know,
Good evening. It's good evening. Happy Sunday, 1 a.m. to you. My name's Anthony. How's it going?
Hey, good evening. How are you?
How can we help you, sir? Well, have a little bit of a situation here. Have a carbon monoxide detector that's going off. Here's what I've done. I'm one of those people. I like in the
mm,
Aaron, you and I, we've been working in the professional world for a long time.
yeah, man.
Hey, listen, and you and I were talking about this recently. Before we get to the final a moment of this is my last resort. Have I checked all the boxes?
Check
Right?
them. Yep. Up, up,
Boom,
up, up,
boom,
up,
boom,
up,
boom,
up.
boom,
There we
boom, boom.
go.
So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna tell this person what I've done. Hey, listen, there's a carbon monoxide detector going off. Here's what I've done. I've checked. The battery appears to be fine. The unit was unplugged. I plugged it back in. It's still going off. It smells kind of funky in here. I know carbon monoxide isn't supposed to smell. However, I have a wood burning stove. Might be some wonky things going on with that. Can we have some? Can we have somebody come out and just check it out? I don't want to make a big scene. It's 1 in
Minimal
the morning.
request. Minimal request.
You know, in my mind, I'm thinking there's probably one of those like white Ford F-150 volunteer fire trucks pulling out of Dunkin' Donuts with a
Right.
hot coffee, 2 cream, 2 sugar, maybe,
He's
getting it going.
holding the light. He's holding the light. It's not even on the top of the car.
It's
He's
one of
holding
those
it.
pull out of the glove box. Yeah, right. I'm like, that's probably what they're going to do. This is a non-emergency. Emphasis on non-emergency line. So I figured, hey, I should be good to I want to fly under the radar with this one, right? We'll send somebody out, stand by. Thank you. Appreciate that. So what I did was I got my cat, Rothbart, and I went outside into the car because I wanted to play it safe. What if there is carbon monoxide? I don't want either of us being exposed to this. So we had gone outside into the car in hopes of seeing a Ford F-150 truck solo with no lights and sirens that would have arrived to my residence
to test, just to test to see what's going on.
We're gonna test this out. It's no big deal. Hey, you're good. Everything's good. Go back to bed. You're good. 10 minutes later, the brigade arrives. Aaron,
so much for flying under the radar.
Aaron, they roll in with 2 full-size fire engines and a paramedic SUV, like their big SUV. They roll in 3 deep. I believe there's a truck 4 deep, lights and freaking sirens. Whoa, whoa, whoa. My cover's been blown.
Here they go, the neighbors.
So you got like the judge that's like probably 2 blocks away. To your point, what the hell's going on over there? My landlord, woo, woo, woo. Fire trucks. I see my landlord come out of his house. He's in a damn bathrobe.
He's probably wondering what the freak is going on with this. Who did I rent this to? Is there a dead body? He doesn't know what's happening. Imagine his thoughts.
Yeah, why are there 4 fire engines? So, you know, things start to become hazy, no pun intended, at this point in the event because they arrive, they pull in, and I'll tell you what, they got out on a mission. They take their carbon monoxide very serious.
Right.
So, captain, chief, not sure what the proper terminology is here, of the fire department comes up to me. What's going on? I'm like, hey, listen, wood burning stove, been smelling funky. I don't feel great. Carbon monoxide detector's going off. Nobody's in the place. I have a cat. He's with me. He's in the car. He's chilling, probably listening to a podcast. 7-minute stories. So at this point, sorry if my emotions are kind of wonky.
You're
This
fine.
is how, for those of you that have been watching BID, this is kind of how I tell stories. Aaron's very similar. We're very expressive. So, fire chief walks into the apartment. Landlord is coming in from his section.
He's
to
coming in
leave.
hot. Yeah.
He's coming in hot in
Yep.
his
Beep, beep,
bathrobe
beep.
and slippers,
Yeah.
right? He's he's waddling over in his bathrobe and slippers. He probably had to pause his late night I Love Lucy episodes. So he this is gonna get what
Sorry, man.
as we pause, I'm gonna
I'm snorting. So I'm snorting. Yeah,
I'm promoting my Cleveland Browns cup and as I drink my coffee, by the way.
They need help, man.
God help us all with
Mm.
Cleveland Browns. So fire chief comes out. Well, actually, I'm sorry. Before fire chief comes out, landlord.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on? Hey, listen, I forget what his name was. It might have been Jim or something or Bob. I'm not sure. He is like, is everything okay? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, carbon monoxide detector is going off. It's been going off. I've been burning the wood burning stove, like we talked about, using said wood. So there wasn't really too much dialogue with him in this point of like trying to dissect like how this could have happened.
Right.
And
He's
I don't
just
know.
in shock.
We probably won't spend too much time on that part, but I will say he was concerned. Wanted to make sure we were okay. As him and I are talking, the fire chief comes back out with this expression on his face. It's like more of like a concerned, frustrated look, if I can describe it. And he literally looks at both of us and he says, there are high levels of carbon monoxide in there.
Holy crap.
He said, I mean, I kid you, it wasn't just like, hey, there's a indication of some carbon monoxide. He used the words high levels of carbon monoxide.
Yeah. He came at you correct. I mean, he was right there.
He was accurate.
Yeah.
And it was shocking to hear that. So they opened up all the windows. They said, no, you cannot. You need to stay away from this place for at least a few days. So
Oh my God.
I knew some people in the area. Thankfully that were like, hey, they picked up when I called them. I mean, I was just going to go get a hotel, no problem. But they're like, yeah, just come on and swing by. I ended up having to call out of work that next morning.
Of course.
So, but getting back to the situation, the landlord had a look of shock on his face, right? Him and I didn't have too much exchange. I said, I'll follow up with you tomorrow, but the story's not over.
Right.
I think he goes back in to his residence,
his safe home with
his
clean
safe
air.
home.
Yeah.
Fire department. Hey, come with us. Wait, what's going on? Well, we need to check your levels. I'm like, okay, like,
because you've been living in this. You've been living in this.
Here's what's scary. And we're going to get serious for a minute here. If I wouldn't have had that carbon monoxide detector in there, what would have happened? I mean, this is the silent killer. And, you know, for anybody watching this, I hope that the takeaway for you is if you do not have a carbon monoxide detector, you need to get one because it's very real.
Yes.
And
you know what?
die.
And you know what? Now that you're saying this, let's put a link down with some of the other links, but the top link we'll find something that is essentially just sort of a national link where someone can go to just to find the steps of one, to be aware of it, and where to get them and why you get them and how to use them and all that kind of stuff. I think that'd be great. I know that's like it's like a PSA, but it has to be. It's important. To
Yeah.
your point, it's no joke. You're a smart guy, but next thing you know, you weren't thinking it could be that because it's just not on because it is
Yeah.
silent. It's not on your mind. There's other variables. I don't know what would have happened, dude. I told you this when we first talked about this years ago. I thought, I mean, you are lucky, man. That was like, I mean,
Mhm.
serendipitous. Thank God,
Right.
because you could be gone, bro.
Yeah.
You go to
It
sleep that night.
yeah, I mean,
Scary to think about.
it's scary. Yeah, little Roth and I, man. I mean, I don't know. I don't even like to think of what the outcome could have been, but to your point, I mean, it's very serious, and I'm so grateful um, that there was a carbon monoxide detector in there that worked.
Mhm,
So please, yeah, check the link below. Reach out to your local fire departments if you have questions or concerns,
mhm.
like if your units are going to work. This is not like a plug or promotion for any of
No.
this. It's just in the moment, yeah, we're just thinking like, hey, like this is serious shit.
So they
But
check your so they're checking your do they take you somewhere to check your levels?
yeah, well, they take me into the ambulance into the ambulance, and I
Here
get
we
hooked up.
now
I
we're
get
full
hooked.
circle.
Can you breathe okay, sir? I'm like,
Yeah.
yes.
You're getting strapped up.
Yeah, help. I mean, it's interesting. Here's what's so interesting about life. In one moment, I'm watching Sunday Night Football, eating nachos, doing my paperwork for my job for the next morning. Fast forward 2 hours later, I'm being strapped down in an ambulance, exposed to high levels of carbon monoxide, and woke up an entire neighborhood of people with 4 fire engines. So they're checking me out. Oxygen's good. They're like, "Do you feel okay?" I'm like, honestly, I felt really woozy like most of the evening tonight.
Mhm.
They're like, "This is up to you. Here's what we recommend. Recommend you go to the hospital and just get checked out further. We can give you a ride, but it's going to cost a lot of money. Are you okay to drive yourself?"
Mm.
I said, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm good to drive myself." So, I drove myself to the hospital. I took my cat to my place that I was staying, and then I went to get checked out, and everything was fine, thank God. No long lasting effects.
Can
So
I ask real quick when you go to the hospital, you walk in self-service, they say, "Hey, can we get your insurance information? Why are you here today?" What do you say? I'm not laughing. I'm just saying,
it's
like,
unbelievable. No,
hey,
you
listen,
should
I
be. It's
could have been exposed to high levels of carbon monoxide. Do you have a magazine? I got to sit down. Like,
do you have a magazine? Yeah. Do you have a magazine? I mean, I walk in. It's kind of exactly how it goes down. So what brings you in today? I've been exposed to high levels of carbon monoxide in my apartment. Fire department just
Mhm.
left. They said that I need to come to the hospital. I need to get I need to get checked out further. Um, and it's just it's a wild situation. Like, how did I get here? You know what I mean? How did I get to to this situation at 2 in the morning now? Right? I'm being hooked up, and you just kind of know internally you're okay. But I needed to
Mm.
like check the boxes for myself.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I wanted to have this documented. Like, I don't know, like I don't know if there's going to be other issues that would arise like health wise, and like I want to have
Yes.
records of these things and know like how my body was responding at that time. But no, I'm thank God I'm perfectly fine. And you know what's interesting?
And the levels were okay, you said, right? So they did all the tests and nothing, you didn't, they didn't have, there wasn't any long term, like any issues when they were in. They let you go that night.
Yeah, I was released that night.
Okay.
You know, I ended up finding another apartment. That's another layer to this. I ended up touching base with my landlord, explaining everything and saying, "Hey, I can't stay here. I'm not comfortable." He let me release the
Mm.
lease. I'm out of the lease, no penalty, obviously, right? Um, Still not 100% sure how that whole thing went down. He said it was a brand new wood stove, and it was not inspected because it was new. I don't know what the legalities are. Um, but anyway, I found a new apartment that was perfectly safe, cozy. Um, and there was one funny point that I wanted to make, and it's kind of fitting because it's like the Halloween time.
Yeah.
But when that fire chief was in the house, when he came walking out, the only thing I could think about was Peter Venkman from Ghostbusters because it looked like he had like one of those like detectors that was like beeping and they have their masks on and stuff. And I'm like, the whole thing felt surreal, out of body, and like, is this even like really happening? And think even just talking with you right now, taking me back to those moments, it's crazy. It was crazy to be in that. I'm very grateful to be alive, and I think we learn from things, right? And like, if I'm ever gonna have a wood burning stove again, I'm not gonna use anything but hardwood. I don't even know if I'm willing to do that.
Dude,
Take that chance again.
dude, I'll tell you this. I can't, I totally understand too. Well, let me just ask you real quick and we'll close it out because we never plan, we plan, but we don't, these things happen in the moment.
Right.
There's no way you would have stayed in that cabin. Like that had to be the definitive moment for you, right? Because I don't know if I could either. If like maybe if it was a home that I bought or something like that, but dude, the fact that you were renting it, that happened, was that the thing, the definitive moment that made you go, I can't stay here? Was that the thing? Do you think that made you like would you be able to sleep at night even if it was
Mm,
fixed? Like, do you know what I'm trying to
mm.
say? Because I
Yeah,
know you moved, but like that was kind of the trigger for it, wasn't it?
yeah, that's a good question. Hypothetical. The situation is fixed with the stove. They're like, you're good to go. Um, I would not have been comfortable staying in there, no matter
Yeah,
what. It, it would have been somewhat traumatic to try to go to sleep at night for a while, I
right.
think. Um, and you know what's interesting? Taking this to another level, Aaron, I think we're on the same page, and I don't want to speak for you, but we believe that the universe has a way sometimes of guiding us,
Mhm.
and we can choose to listen to that or not.
Yep.
I did have some hesitancy signing the lease at this place because it kind of happened really quick and I didn't
Mhm.
really search as much as I would want it to. Not saying that, like, oh yeah, this carbon monoxide happened for a reason to get you out of there. However, um, I do believe that there was a reason that, hey, I don't, God, the universe doesn't want you in here for some reason.
Mm.
Um, and I felt this sense of like release when I got out of there.
Good.
Even prior to the carbon monoxide, there was a like, I don't know if this is going to be my place. Maybe
It
this is
didn't feel right.
temporary. It didn't feel like
Didn't feel right.
home.
Yeah.
Like for everybody watching and for Aaron too, like even my townhouse now, I remember when I first walked in, opened the door and I said, "This is my house."
Yep.
I just knew. You
You
just
knew.
kind of, but
You
I
know.
never got even in whether you're a homeowner or you're renting, there's that feeling. And I'm also just one of those people, hey, I'm grateful to have a place to lay my head down, you know.
Yep.
Um man, what a tough experience. And I hope that everyone watching has not or will not ever go through something like that.
Well, funny that you say that because to come to literally bring this full circle, off script, off camera, the reason why we told this story today, and also to show you, I really mean this. I know that I kind of err on the side of being a little bit folksy and sometimes corny. I love romantic stories. You know that I love the changing the seasons. I'm a storyteller by nature. A lot of my stories are, they can err on the dark side sometimes, but usually it's more of an optimistic view and a view of sort of just being in awe of the world around me.
Right.
But I would say there is something true to the fact that stories can help people.
Right.
And I can tell you that your story helped me because the reason why we're telling this today is just a couple weeks ago I had a similar experience. It's in our house, but it was that a carbon monoxide detector is going off. We thought it was a battery. We replaced the battery. It didn't beep for a while. Then it started beeping again. And even though it ended up being okay and that it was actually just a faulty carbon monoxide thing that I should have changed back in 2016, that was the issue. I thought about you. I had my kids in the house. I had my future wife in the house. And I'm holding that phone and I'm going, even the non-emergency line, do I make that call?
Right.
Do I just go, laugh it off? It's just something here. We're busy. The kids are tired. We're exhausted. Let's not deal with it. Just open a window and go to sleep. Your story is literally the thing that made me not want to go to sleep. I call that non-emergency line, have an awkward, hey, how you doing this evening? I have that awkward conversation. Luckily, they do send out the guy in the F-150 for me. He checks, everything's fine. and we just
Yeah.
need a new detector. But thank you for
Right.
that, because honestly, that story helped me really just kind of
Mhm.
solidify that I was good to go. So stories do help, dude. And I again loved hearing it the first time. Appreciate you sharing it the second time, dude. I can't wait to be ID again soon.
I'm so grateful you and your family are okay.
Bye, bro. Talk to you.